Well, hey there, it's Catherine from CatherinePolar.com. In this video, we're going to use products from Club Sursee, which is our subscription program. You get a monthly shipment of stamps or stamps and dies, whichever you choose. I'm going to share the June subscription products. So if you're a subscriber and you don't want to ruin the surprise, maybe save this until after you get your shipment. I especially love creating cards that go from simple to more advanced using Sursee products because they lend themselves so well to simple cards and stepped up cards. I just gave a peek at two of our previous monthly subscription projects that I made with the products, and here is a peek at a couple of the projects we're going to make in this video. So we're going to start with a sentiment right toward the top in the middle of my white card layer. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to use my Mint to Be ink pad, and I'm going to stamp several of these large flowers. The June subscription has this gorgeous floral set. It's called You've Got Flowers. It's going to be a staple in your stash. You're going to use it over and over, I promise you. I had a blast. In this video, we're going to make 8 cards. Can you believe that? Just with the supplies from Sursee. And that was just in one sitting, 8 cards. After stamping the main Mint to Be large flowers, I started filling in with some of the smaller ones. And once I added a couple of those, I decided to do some more of the large Mint to Be flowers and just create a background over this whole card layer. So that's one of the beauties of stamping. You can just add a couple flowers or you can add a whole bunch. And if you're a Deluxe Sursee subscriber, you're also going to receive the dies that will die cut these flower images. So you can mix in some stamped flowers just flat on the card, or you can die cut some and pop them up and add some dimension to your card. So here is the finished product for the first simple card. Next up, we're going to use this gorgeous background stamp. It's called Stronger, and it's in 2 pieces, so you can separate out the sentiment from the wreath, and you can stamp them separately. You can fit that sentiment right back in and stamp it all at once. The choice is yours, and it adds a lot of versatility because basically now you have a 2-for-1. I'm also going to show you another way in a little bit on how to stretch this wreath stamp. More than just one way to use this. As long as I have my Misty out and I'm using this, I may as well stamp several. So I stamped it in Icing on the Cake, and then I'm also stamping it in Midnight. Midnight is our archival ink. It is great for using with Copics and watercoloring, and it's a very dark black ink. I'm also going to stamp an additional one with the sentiment only. So going back to the Midnight one that I stamped with the wreath and the sentiment in the center, I'm just going to do some simple coloring on the flowers. I'm using All That Jazz in Lime Rickey, and I'm using a blender pen. So if you're not familiar with these, blender pen is basically like a clear marker. So it has a solution in the tip of the pen, and it's clear, so you can dip your tip into ink, grab color from your ink pad and color with it. So as you're coloring, it's going to run out of the tip, so you will get a lighter color as you go on. And then when you want to change colors, you can just scribble it off on a scratch piece of paper until the tip runs clear, and then you can go into your next color. So as I'm coloring in, you're probably noticing I'm continuing to dip into that ink palette as my tip gets clear of ink and darken it up and just kind of adding shading and more color as I go. When I'm coloring, I usually just pull ink straight out of my lid, or I might dip right onto the top of my ink pad. Another way you can do it is take your ink pad and dab it onto a slick surface like a clear acrylic block. So I wanted to add a little bit of pizzazz to this card, so I grabbed some embellishment mousse by Nuvo and some paintbrushes. So I'm going to take the Nuvo embellishment mousse. I will have all of these products linked below in the description on YouTube as well as my blog. So if you head over to the blog, you'll also see lots of photos of all of the projects that I'm making in this video. Remember, we're making 8, so you can see still photos of those and get inspired for your next card making project. Okay, so back to what I'm doing. So I'm taking out some of this Nuvo embellishment mousse. I'm using a metal palette knife and I'm smearing it onto my little media mat from Waffle Flour. The embellishment mousse inside the jar is going to be a little bit hard, so take it out, put it on a slick surface. This media mat is perfect for that, and work it a little bit until it softens up. You can also then add water to it. So I've been playing with so many different techniques and ways to use this embellishment mousse since I've figured out all the fun ways to use it. I've been using it on my live streams on Facebook and some YouTube videos here too. So hope you're following along with the fun. And right now I'm just using this one. I think this one is mother of pearl, but I'm not positive. Like I said, I'll link it below. And I'm just using it to paint onto the flowers. It's giving it a nice pearlescent sheen. And I liked it so much, I decided that I wanted to do more pearlescent sheen look on this card. So I'm grabbing my Pink and Main ergonomic blender brush and I'm just blending on some aquatini. You know what? I think I said that I colored the flowers with all that jazz. It wasn't. It was aquatini. So here we go. Ink blending with aquatini. So with the blending brush from Pink and Main, I feel like you can get a really large space covered pretty quickly. I feel like the ink blending might be a little bit lighter than when I use other brushes, but it's a really great brush to use and it's really easy to just clean off on scratch paper or a chamois and go into the next color. So I knew that I was just going to use this for a small layer behind my stamped layer and most of it would not show. So I didn't worry at all about getting a smooth blend and I just threw some ink on there. And then I wanted this layer to be pearlescent. So I'm grabbing some more of that embellishment mousse that was watered down just a little bit and I'm painting it on with my Nuvo paintbrush. I also wanted to share another way you can use this embellishment mousse. You can actually color it with the Catherine Pooler ink pads. So you can just use a little squirt of your ink refill, or you can take your pad, dab it onto a slick surface, and then blend your embellishment mousse with it, and then you have colored embellishment mousse. So just another way to do that. And then I'm going to adhere this layer onto my card base, and then I will adhere the stamped layer onto the card base. And it gives a really gorgeous, it's kind of like you had custom, well, it isn't kind of like, it is. Okay, let's start over. Now you have custom made colored shimmer paper to coordinate with the roses that you colored and shimmered. Isn't that fantastic? A few clear sequins from our Crater Lake sequin mix to finish this card off. And I'm loving the clean and simple simplicity of this card. If clean and simple simplicity is a thing, nonetheless, it's beautiful and I'm really happy with how this card turned out. So let's try another technique using these fabulous flower stamps. So I'm using the Catherine Pooler mini ink pads. They make it really easy to just get a small amount of color in one spot. So I'm just dabbing a little bit of Tiara in the center. Actually, I think that's limoncello because I'm using the Carnivale mini ink pad set. So limoncello and then Be Mine around the edge. And I'm using sponge daubers. You can use ink blending brushes or any kind of little blender brush that you have. And I'm liking the sponge daubers because you can actually ink your stamp directly with the sponge daubers. So just dab the sponge dauber on top of your ink pad and then color directly onto the stamp. It's a great way to get a really nice blended look. And Catherine Pooler ink pads are so juicy and the ink transfers out of them so easily because of our foam pad that you won't have any problem inking up with your stamp dauber in this way. So ink blending on stamps is one of my all-time favorite stamping techniques. I think it makes you look like a fancy expert card maker and you can create really nice custom looks with it. So for these two, I'm using the limoncello and the All That Jazz, and then I'm just going to die cut these flowers. So again, Our Deluxe Sursee subscribers get the dies that coordinate with the stamps, and they get a really big discount on every single monthly subscription with our Club Sursee. The basic subscribers get about a 15% savings off retail price, and the Deluxe is a deeper discount than that, usually between 20 and 30%, depending on how many dies we pack in. So moving on and creating some more flowers to decorate my cards, I'm using Coral Cabana and Samba ink and then doing some leaves in Lime Rickey. And then here's a whole bunch of die cuts. These are all of the flowers that come in this set of stamps and dies. And I like to die cut a whole bunch at once and just have them on hand, and then I can stamp them as I need them. And for this leaf, I'm using the technique of ink blending. So I inked up in Melon Ice, and then I did a little bit of Lime Rickey on there and just used that sponge dauber to blend out that ink. So I stamped a few, and then I have a few empty ones that I haven't stamped yet, and I'll just leave them on hand to create and stamp them as I need them for my card projects. So I'm using the stamped layer, You Are So Much Stronger Than You Think, that I stamped a little while ago. And I'm choosing one of the pink and one of the blue, and I'm just adding these on with some of the leaves along the bottom left-hand side. I trimmed off that stamped layer, the layer with the greeting on it, and it's probably about 3 3/4 by 5. And when you just add dimensional or foam adhesive to the back and pop it up over that white card base, it has a really sharp and clean look to it. And then the pop of those flowers, I think, is really fantastic. And that's all you need for a really sharp looking card. All right, so we're going clean and simple for this next card design. I'm going to stamp the same flower in multiple colors. I'm starting with Tiara and then moving on to It's a Boy and It's a Girl. I'm cleaning my stamp in between. My favorite way to clean stamps is to use my picket fence scrubber. I'm not sure if I showed it in this video, and just adding a little bit of water onto that scrubber, scrubbing the stamp off, and then usually I just kind of wipe the stamp off with my hand to make sure it's dry enough, because you don't want to have a wet stamp uh, getting into your ink pad, because then it's not going to stamp well. And then if I use a paper towel, I might get lint on my stamp, so I just use my hand. A microfiber cloth would work as well. And then I'm doing Garden Party for the leaves, and then a simple I Believe in You sentiment stamped in Midnight. I wanted to do a little accent on the side, and I wanted a black and white stripe. So I took the very thinnest, longest leaf from the flower set, and I thought, hey, this will be a fun, kind of unique little border here. So I'm just stamping a row of them all the way across this little strip of white cardstock, and I'm using the lines on my grid mat to line up my stamps so that I have them evenly spaced. And then I'm just going to adhere this to the left side of my folded card front, and I'm going to add some cookies and cream twine as well. I have foam tape on the back of my stamped layer, and I'm just going to wrap the cookies and cream twine around it and then add it to my card front and tie the twine. And here's a look at the final card. I love the simplicity and how vibrant these colors are. So I'm going back to the wreath that I stamped with the icing on the cake, and I decided I wanted to add the sentiment right in the middle. So icing on the cake, you are so much stronger than you think, in the center. And then another fun way to use this wreath is to add on flowers from this floral set. And you can just add them right on top of the flowers that are already on the wreath. So you're going to get a different look with this wreath by adding dimensional flowers like this. So a Samba flower, Bellini, and all that jazz, and then a Garden Party flower, a few sequins. And actually, I tucked those leaves in there and then I reconsidered. I thought it looked better without, but you can build a whole wreath of flowers around the outline here if you want. And then Crater Lake sequins always give a gorgeous, clear sparkle pop to any card. They're just perfect for just about everything. After adding the sequins, I decided I wanted a little bit of a pop of color. So I took the small dies from this collection and just colored them direct to paper with my ink pad and added a couple around the clusters of flowers. And I think it gave a nice little pop there. So, dies. Our deluxe Sursee subscribers, like I said, they get the coordinating dies for the 2 stamp sets. And in this set of products that ships after June 15th, you get a basket die. And I love this little die. It die cuts and it also embosses detail onto your cardstock. So, I die cut some chocolate cardstock, and then I'm just using my sponge dauber to sponge ink around the edges of the basket die to give dimension. And you want to get more mileage out of this basket die? Go ahead and cut off the handle, and then you just have an open basket. I know there's tons more ways you guys are going to think of when creating with this basket die, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. I also think it would be fun to have a basket of peaches. Last month we had peaches in our Sursee, and oh my goodness, they will be adorable. So I can't resist making a shaker card. So I have a piece of acetate and I'm just going to cut it to be about the same shape and size as the top of the basket here. And then I'm going to adhere the basket and the handle to the window sheet. And that will create the piece that keeps all of the sequins in. I'm also going to add flowers to the basket. So I have an extra die cut flower. It's stamped with Coral Cabana and Samba. And I'm just going to adhere that to the front of the basket, add on one of the leaves, and I love the look here. I just think that looks beautiful. Now, you don't have to make this into a shaker card if you don't want to. Just adhere your basket straight to your card front, just like it is, and you're done. But if you want to take it up another notch, grab some foam tape. We have these foam strips by Doris in our shop, and they make it really easy to make shaker cards. So I'm just going to add the foam strips to the back here and cover the handle and then the bottom of the basket. And I'm going to make it so that there's no gaps between any of the foam strips so that the sequins don't fall out when I assemble this whole thing. I'm also adding foam tape to the bottom so that the basket stays flat. I'm doing the sentiment, "You're brave," with icing on the cake. And then I'm going to add in some sequins. So I started out using Crater Lake sequins, and I'm just going to eyeball where they will be on the card front when I add the basket over the top. And I also thought, since there is a little pop of green with that leaf, it would be nice to have a few green sequins in the shaker bit as well. So I pulled out a few of my favorites, although I love all of the sequins in the Boston mix, but I wanted to pull out just a couple that I thought would coordinate the best with that leaf. Once I had enough sequins, or as much as I thought I would want in the shaker piece, I'm just going to add the basket right over the top. You want to make sure none of the sequins get stuck underneath that foam tape, because then it won't lay flat and you may have some escaping sequins. So shake, shake, shake. I can sit here and shake shaker cards all day long, you guys. I added a layer of chocolate cardstock between the white layer and the card front, and I'm done. I love this shaker card. So for the next card, I'm going to use the basket without the handles, and I have a whole bouquet of flowers that are going to go inside. So I just stamped a bunch in different colors and then just played with the arrangement until I had something I was happy with. And then I wanted to add a little bit of glam to this card. So I'm taking the Coastal Surf embellishment mousse, and I'm using my my spatula by Nuvo, and I'm just wiping the embellishment mousse across my cardstock, and that's going to give me a really gorgeous turquoisey aqua shimmer. It's going to look like I have shimmery cardstock. So I love the embellishment mousse for this. I think it's really awesome. And then I'm just going to add it to the card front. Or the card layer, I'm just having a little bit of it peek out. And then I'm going to add my basket in a greeting, and I'm going to build my bouquet. So some of the flowers I'm just adhering straight onto the card layer, and then others I'm going to pop up on foam tape. And that gives more interest to the card and makes it more dimensional, which I think is a really nice touch. Now, these products are going to be part of our June 2020 Club Sursee shipment. You have until June 14th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern to subscribe to get this shipped directly to you and to get your great Sursee membership perk, which is a great discount. So if you missed these, you're watching this video later, these items will be available in our shop at a later date, and they will be full retail price, but you will be able to grab them. I think these products are going to be an absolute staple in your stash. This is a really gorgeous floral stamp set, really nice big blooms, very unique looking. There's a nice variety and there's great sizes so that you can build different kinds of bouquets with them. And then the dies, and of course that stronger wreath stamp, which is really unique and beautiful, and the basket die. So, and just like that, I sat down one night and I created 8 cards with these products, and I know I could sit down and create another 8 tonight. Very versatile, very classic, and I know you're going to love them. So I'm adding some Charleston sequins to the basket as well. I think the iridescent color of some of these is just going to look really gorgeous. There's just a hint of color in some of them, and I'll just add a few. And here's a close look at the final project. Which card is your favorite? Here is a quick look at all of them again. I don't know if I have a favorite. It might be the shaker card. I don't know. I love something different about all of them. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me on this video. I appreciate you being here. I hope you'll check out more YouTube videos that I have up, 10 years worth, you guys, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again soon.